I'm set to go. They don't realize what the cost is in your retirement years for health care. Life expectancy for a male is age 83, for a female is age 85. If you reach the age of 65, you have an 80% chance of hitting one of those ages. After that age, if you reach that age 83 or 85, you have another 20% chance of living to be 93. So you have a lot of years that you have to provide for yourself to pay for health care. One of the things is, back in the 40s when they started Medicare and Social Security system, life expectancy was age 65. We're living longer, it's costing us more, and the longer we live, the more our health care is going to cost us, because our aging causes medical conditions. So you have to look at all that. For one person, if you live to that life expectancy, from the time you retire till that life expectancy, it could cost you around about $200,000 to $250,000 to provide Medicare premiums and Medicare cost. So those are the two major things that I want you to be aware of. Now, if you're a couple, it's going to double that. So you have to look at, that's the kind of money you need in retirement just for medical conditions. So a lot of people think, well, I'm retired, I'm on Medicare, I've paid into Medicare all these years, I'm good to go, I don't have any premiums. That is a myth. What you're paying out of your paycheck is hospitalization A. So when you retire, hospitalization A, you don't have any premiums for. You've already paid that. That's what's coming out of your paycheck. And that pays for things like you go into the hospital, the room, everything that provides you in the hospital. It doesn't cover your doctors, your anesthesiologist, and that type of thing. All that's going to pay for is your stay in the hospital. When you go in the hospital, even though you have medical insurance, you have to pay the first $1,320 before Medicare starts picking up that hospitalization. And then you're thinking, well, I have this supplement, it'll pick up the rest. They do not pick up that copay, they pick up 20% of whatever Medicare doesn't pay. So when you go into the hospital, Medicare pays 20% of your bill. Your supplement pays 80% of your bill. Your supplement pays 20% of your bill. But your supplement doesn't pay the co-pays and that sort of thing. It just pays the difference between what Medicare paid and what you actually owe. Now, all right, there's Medicare B. You have to purchase that when you retire. And that, if you have a check from Social Security, that premium comes out of your Social Security check. If you do not have a Social Security check, you have to make the payments for that premium yourself. That premium right now is $132.50 a month. So that's for Part B. What that pays for is your doctor's visits, if you have rehab, like you have to go to someone to get back up on your feet and that sort of thing. So hospitalization A you pay for, B you're paying for on a monthly basis. That does not include your drugs. There's also a drug card that you have to purchase. And that is anywhere from $32 to $95 a month for your drug card. Now, you have a drug card. Does it pay 100% of your drugs? No. Just like today, you all probably have a drug card. You have co-pays, and it only pays 100% on certain prescriptions, and then you have a higher deductible on certain other prescriptions. The same thing with your Medicare drug card. So, out of that, on a monthly basis, $132, and let's just say between B and D, that's $200 a month. Then you have to purchase your supplement. That's about anywhere from $100 to $200 a month. So that's all your health insurance premium cost. That's not any of your co-pays, out-of-pocket expenses, etc. Remember I mentioned that you have $1,320 that you have to come up with at the beginning at your hospital stay in order for Medicare to start paying their bills. Now, I want to also give you an example. You go into the hospital, you pay your deductible, $1,320, and then they say you're well and you go home. 5 days later, you end up back in the hospital with the same condition. Well, Medicare doesn't think that that's the same condition on the same $1,320. If they dismissed you, you owe them another $1,320. Okay, so what I'm trying to get a point across is this is a lot of money that's going to have to come out of your pocket in your retirement years. Now, also, for an example, the person that designed some of our programs at Nationwide, the reason why he did this was he was taking care of his father in his older age, and then once he was taking care of his bills and that sort of thing. His father ended up very ill in the hospital. It was flu time, so he was in the emergency room. There wasn't a bed in the hospital for him, so he started calling around to other hospitals to see if there was a bed for his father, and there was not. So he was in the emergency room area for 4 days, and because he wasn't actually admitted to the hospital, Medicare didn't pay for any of the bill. They had to pay $25,000 out of pocket to the hospital for his stay in the hospital. Even though he was there getting treated, he wasn't actually admitted, and then they had to come up with the money. Okay? So, reason why we're talking about all this is the fact that we want you very aware of what's going to come out of your pocket in your retirement years. Any questions so far?
So, what is we know we got Part A Medicare at 65. Everybody's going to want a drug supplement.
Right.
Everybody's going to want Part B.
Definitely.
So for those two, what's the average cost for those?
About $200 to $225 a month. That's not including your supplement.
And what's a supplement roughly?
That's what Medicare pays 80% of your bills. That's Part A and B.
Okay.
You have to come up with 20%. So your supplement is to take care of that 20% of what you owe.
And what's a monthly on supplement?
Anywhere from $100 to $200 a month, depending on which one you pick.
Can we use HSA money to pay for that?
HSA money, that's for co-pays and that sort of thing.
So the answer is no.
No. Okay. Now, premium-wise, if you have the Deferred Comp 457 program and you're a hazardous duty employee, you can take up out of your deferred comp $3,000 a year tax-free to pay for health insurance premiums. So that could be your supplement, your drug card, Part B, for you, your spouse, or any dependents. Now, $3,000 sounds like a lot of money, but an average person out of their own pocket just for health insurance premiums on an annual basis is about $2,200 a year.
For one person?
For one person. That's the whole premiums for everything, your Medicare premiums and your supplement. So, for one person, you've almost used up the full $3,000 on yourself. And then you have a spouse that has that has her own Medicare and supplement, so that's another $2,200. So you're going to be short some money for your health insurance and premiums if you use that $3,000 a year tax-free out of your deferred comp. Now, a lot of people don't want to use the full deferred comp program for health insurance premiums. You've saved that money up, you've retired, you want to enjoy life. You don't want to use up your entire 457 plan for health insurance premiums. So that's why Nationwide has developed another program that we offer that can be adopted by cities and counties to help with expenses in your retirement years, and that's our PEP program. And I have a little bit of information on that. I have about 20 of them, and you all can share them if you want to pass these out. And you said it on the PEP before?
I did.
Okay. Okay,
That would be something that our negotiating, should negotiate.
with the city, yes.
There's some big decisions to be made regarding pet. I mean, there are.
Major decisions, yeah.
So that's why I wanted people to listen up. But yes, it would be something we'd have to negotiate into the contract, but it would actually also something everybody needs to be on board with. And she's gonna explain how these pet accounts are funded, how they can be beneficial, and then we'll bring up the arguments against it. I mean,
Oh, there are arguments.
Right, so it's,
Yeah.
you got a way out. But first, I like that she starts off by letting everybody know you're talking about over $4,000 a year for a couple, and
Just in premiums alone.
you can't use your HSA money on that.
Well, I made the mistake when I turned 65. I was told I had to sign up for Medicare. I had to go back and unsign, because you can't sign up at Medicare and have an HSA account.
Well, if you're still working and at the age of 65, when you're on your employer's health coverage, what you're signing up is for the hospitalization only, which is Part A. You don't pick up any of the part that has premiums because you're still on your employer's plan. You don't pick up Part B and D in your supplement till after you fully retired and you're not working anymore.
Social Security told me I had, in order to, because here the city gives us $1,000 to go into our HSA. But I couldn't belong to that if I had Medicare Part A.
You couldn't contribute to it, is what you're
I
saying.
could not have, I
Yeah.
could contribute, so I would lose that, so I had to go back,
And unsign up for,
unsign up for Medicare.
right. When you're working and you turn the age of 65, it gets a little tricky because of the fact that you're Medicare age, but you still have an employer's plan. Most of the time, you sign up for hospitalization A and keep on your employer's plan for everything else. So you have to coordinate that with the Social Security system, your employer, to get the right formula for you if you're still working. So that's something that you have to work with when you do reach the age of 65 if you're still working. Also, because you all are hazardous duty employees not paying into the Social Security system, you may or may not have a Social Security check depending on if you worked other places to get your full 10 years of service with Social Security to even get a check with Social Security. So if you don't have a Social Security check, you have to pay the Social Security or the Medicare Part B yourself instead of out of your Social Security check. So depending on your personal situation, how that's going to be arranged.
You have to work full-time 10 years?
You have to have 10 years of quarters. No, you don't. But you do have to have 10 years of quarters in there to get a check. And it's based on how Social Security bases your check is. It's on 35 years of service. So if you only have 10 years of service, they're going to average a lot of zeros in there with that 10 years because it's 35 years average of your salaries. Okay.
It's all about 40% or whatever that is.
I'm sorry, I had two people talking to me. Let's see. Go
We
ahead.
hired in before, in 1987 here, people who hired in after that date paid the Medicare portion. So we've had some guys that have been here quite a while that hired in before that, and they hadn't paid anything into Medicare. Therefore, they ran into a problem when they tried to sign up for Medicare. They owed
The back pay for Part A? Yeah.
So you have to keep that in mind, these guys have been here.
Right. But I think your employer now takes out Part A, don't they, of your paycheck?
When they started that.
Yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
that hired in after that's good to go, but if you hired in before that, you need to be taking a.
Right. So you even have more out of pocket. Someone else had a yeah. Who else had a question for me?
On the Social Security, you're penalized for this pension.
You are, there's a formula, it's,
I have to do, I've already got 22 years in from what I did before this job. And I've got to do 9 more years of paying into it to get 90% of my Social Security.
right, that's correct. You all have, it's called the windfall provision. There's, out on the Social Security website, there's a chart that shows you what your windfall is, and what that is they discount your Social Security check based on this job. But if you work X amount of years, there is no discount. So depending on where you fall under that chart, how much of your Social Security check you're actually going to receive. Okay.
Less than what you think, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get as much Social Security as you think.
The penalty can be as high as 50% up to no penalty. So depending on where you fall on that chart, what your penalty actually is. So a lot of people that work this job their full career will have some type of penalty because can't get enough years of service in with Social Security not to have that penalty. Now, your spouse does not receive a penalty on their check. This is just your check. They will receive a penalty if they don't have enough quarters to draw Social Security on their own. So if they're going to draw Social Security off of your check, there will be a penalty on their check. So if you have a spouse, they definitely need to draw off their own Social Security so that they don't get penalized as well. Okay. All right, so PEP, what it is a post-employment health plan. It is a way that it can be funded several different ways. This money cannot be used while you're working. Your HSAs can be used while you're working or after you've left your employment. This is for retirees to use in their retirement years. Now, when you join, if you all decide to use a program like this, we set up a trust, and the trust runs this plan. You each will have an individual account, just like you do like your 457 plan, but the trust holds this accounts in their name with your name. Now the reason why is, the downfall to this is, you don't leave this to beneficiaries. This money is your money in your retirement years to use for anything you want, premiums, and in some cases, co-pays and that sort of thing. If you have a spouse, that person, if you pass away, that spouse can use the balance in that program. Once both people are deceased, that money goes back into the trust and is divided between the rest of the people that have an account. A lot of, okay.
So let's explain that. Just
Okay.
That's the big deal. So you're saying this has to be negotiated in? That's right. Indianapolis does this, and I've talked to tons of their retired guys, some of which were big naysayers against this plan because of what she just said. I've not talked to one person that doesn't love it. Mike Reeves, I was with him yesterday. He's probably 70 years old. He said, man, it was a lifesaver, this PEP plan. Mm-hmm. So, would it be the police and fire, or would it just be like the fire department? It would be the fire department and then the police department?
Each
entity would
have to negotiate it through the employer.
So how would it work? Police or fire? There's different ways that we can fund this, and I'm
Yes.
going to speak on that. But one of the ways is, guys, it could be, hey, I want my sick days to be bought back and that money be paid into my PEP. So that's, and so our incentive for the city when we're negotiating this, they don't have to pay taxes on that money. It's all tax-free money. So maybe we could say yearly, city, we want to be able to sell back sick days into our PEP plan. But it's kind of an all or nothing deal, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that right? So what you would have to do is collectively, the fire department or the police department would have to say, everybody come together, have a vote and say, are we cool with that? Is everybody okay with selling their sick days back or incentive days or, you know, whatever it is, you have to come to a
or comp time.
Or comp time. Well, then we're going to sell it back. So Captain Jackson says, okay, yeah, we vote on it. That's good. So at the end of the year, Captain Jackson has 6 sick days, and the city has agreed to this deal too. So he gets, boom, 6 days work goes into his post-employment health care plan. And then everybody can do the same. And there's other ways you can do it when we're negotiating raises. Maybe we say, hey, we want a 3% raise, and the city's like, well, we're going back and forth. We say, okay, we'll take a 2% raise, and then we'd like the city to contribute 1% into everybody's PEP plan. And
the reason why the city would like that is they're not paying Social Security or, well, you all aren't, but Medicare
Tax.
taxes, and you're not paying federal taxes on this money.
So that money is yours when you leave here. And as I just said, there's ways you can work to make this a lot of money. You could, a lot of these buybacks at the end of our careers, those are significant checks. So maybe you could say, hey, my vacation days when I go out, we want to put that into our pet plan. Well, now you're walking out of here with $50,000, right, in this, in your pet plan. And you can use it for all these expenses that she's already told us about.
Right.
And then if something happens to us, our spouse gets to do it. And what's the downfall of it? Once you and your spouse are gone, it goes into the fund. How does that work? Literally, everybody gets an equal dividing. In Indianapolis, they said it's only happened 3 times. They're a 2,700 person department. Our guys and gals are smart enough to know, use this money first. Because you don't get to give it to your kids. But they're using it, and they're using it all up. I mean, it's getting used. That's the whole point of this. You're gonna have a lot of costs in healthcare that you're not even thinking about, or you may be. But use this money first and exhaust that account. If you've got, say you've got $86 in your pet plan when your spouse dies, every member of the fire department right now would get $1. They would see their pet account go up $1. And we'd say,
Those accounts, are they interest free?
Yes, and I'll go over that. You pick investment options just like you do out of your 457 plan. One of them is a very conservative one. The options are a lot less on this plan than they are your deferred comp plan because just the way it's been set up, but there are investment options. One of the things, once a year we do a blitz up at the Indy Fire where all of us reps go in and help Kevin out, and we go to every station in Indy over a 3-day period. I had one fellow, as soon as I walked in the door, he was very upset about this PEP plan, like, well, when I die, all my money's going to everybody else and I don't want the other participants to get my money. And so-and-so died and I never see a penny of his money. So I said, well, let me check into this. Well, so-and-so died, but he only had $100 in his account, and how many Indy firemen are?
2,500 people.
Yeah, I mean, he probably saw a nickel or something go into his account. So I went back and showed him. I said, well, you did get something, but he didn't have a lot of money left. He used it because he was very ill. So you have to look at that. Yes, your other firemen are going to get your money maybe. I mean, you may have a bad accident, die very young, not use a penny of it. Well, that's just the way it is. I mean.
So if I leave and say my buyout for my days and everything, $50,000.
Yep.
And I decide to put $30,000 of that in my pet. Is
It's
there a limit?
Well, from my understanding, it's all or nothing, right? So maybe we say we want our sellback of our vacation days. So then your sick days that you buy back, that you get that money. But your vacation days, we've agreed in our contract, that goes into the PEP account.
So I just don't get to select the amount I want to plug in.
That's right.
Right, whatever those days are worth can go in there, but
And that's tax-free, right?
it is tax-free.
That's my next question.
Yeah, and you all can negotiate, well, we want half our vacation days to go on the plan, and then the participant can keep half of it.
Right.
So you
But
don't
it's a set amount.
set amount. So
You
if,
can't decide if that's police and fire.
Well, it would be the police contract would do theirs, and the fire contract would do theirs. But it could be the same, or it could be different, however we decide.
right, so like you said, the gripe would be is that if you all voted 100% of vacation days has to go on this plan, well, the gripe would be so-and-so wants to do it, but the other person doesn't. So my suggestion is maybe like say, well, 50% of vacation pay goes in and you keep 50% or something like that.
Regulation on that money, since you have in there, you use it to make payments, or can you use it for prescriptions, or?
You can use it you can use it for your health insurance premiums, you can use it for long-term care, dental, Medicare B and your supplements, and you can also use it for out-of-cost medical expenses. Okay, so it's a roundabout thing, and
I mean, just the premiums alone for a couple we just discussed is going to be $4,400 a year. And that, I mean, that's money that you're gonna spend, and you gotta get that money from somewhere. You're gonna spend it, you know? So, I mean, I am trying to sell people on the plan. I like that.
First, instead of if you have money, you can always use that first.
That's right, and that's
Yes.
what's going on in Indianapolis. When this guy says, well, so-and-so died, I didn't see him. The guys are using the money. They're spending it. The expenses are there, and they're using it. And a lot of this stuff, you can't use your HSA money on.
And another thing that I didn't touch base on is Medicare does not pay for long-term care cost. All right, the only way, if you go into a nursing home, the only way they're going to pay that bill if you're going in there for the rehab department and they expect you to get well and come out. The minute the doctor says, we've done all we can do, they're not going to get any better, Medicare cuts you off just like that. And what happens is then you're responsible for that bill. An average nursing home cost is $5,000 a month. That's all out of pocket to take care of you. So 1 out of 2 people will use a nursing home for 2 to 3 years. So if you have a married couple, you have a 50% chance of one of you having to go in, and it's usually the last person standing is the one that ends up in the nursing home.
Let's say my wife's passed away, I pass away. Can this account be used by the trust of my estate for like probate or whatever?
No.
Healthcare costs incurred by me for my...
Well, if you still have some medical expenses left.
Before it gets distributed to everybody else.
Right, if your estate still owes some of your personal medical bills, they could use the PET plan to pay for that medical bill. But once all your medical bills have been covered, then the money goes to the trust. Okay, so if you die and you still have $2,000 worth of medical bills, you incurred those medical bills before you passed away, so you can use the PET plan to cover those medical bills. Yes. All right.
Did you have a question?
Eric asked about the contribution amount, but let's just say that we agree to the 0%. Does it have to be everyone after 6 days, or does it have to be?
Well, so that's a good question. I don't know. So if we were to determine that it was incentive days, everybody, we accrue them different from police and fire. Let's just say everybody accrues 10 incentive days. That's not the real number, but everybody gets 10 a year. It's an incentive day because they didn't call in sick. Could we say, but you can accrue maybe 8 a year, depending on if you've called in sick. Can we say half, so that this guy might be banking 4, and then this guy might be banking 6 or 5? Is that?
Yeah, you could.
It's however you negotiate.
However you negotiate
But
it.
there's not a selection from the member, like from 5 up to 10, or is that right? Even if we designated a certain type of day, say it was comp time, incentive days, or whatever days we designated, can the member have a selection that, and maybe it's all in the contract that gets negotiated, to say members can contribute the monetary amount per day from 5 up to no more than 10 days?
Yes.
So that gives everybody a selection.
A little selection. Now, PEP is funded several different ways. We have 2 funding buckets, okay? So, on our universal account, the first bucket, is funded by contributions from each employee. And this can be used to pay for anything that you want, co-pays, prescriptions, eyeglasses, anything like that, and health insurance premiums. The bucket 2 is funded by contribution, and that is funded on a flat dollar amount. Bucket 2, if you fund this account with percentage of salary instead of a flat dollar amount, it can only be used for health insurance premiums. So depending on how we fund this program, what buckets we'll be using. I think Indy uses both buckets. So employer pays a percentage of it and the employee pays a percentage. So depending on how we fund this, what type of buckets we have. Bucket 1 is for all expenses, bucket 2 is for health insurance premiums only. So depending on how we fund this plan, what buckets we're
And
gonna
that
be
would
using.
the situation where we said, instead of a 3% raise, we're gonna take a 2% raise, and we want 1%
Right.
to go into the,
And that would go into bucket 2, which would be health insurance premiums only, okay? Yes,
It seems like the same question's been asked in two different ways, and got two different answers.
Okay.
Get a clarification. We can't choose out of the air an arbitrary number that we want to contribute to this account,
that's correct.
but we can select how many days from 5 to 10 that we want to go to that. So we basically are selecting the amount that we put into it. Is that correct?
Well, you're selecting, you can't just say, I want $2,000 to go in there. If you
But
selected,
you can, so let's say I want 3 of those days to go in there.
and is worth that, yes, then whatever those days are worth, then you can
Boils
put,
down to whatever we get negotiated in the contract.
right.
So whatever we choose to negotiate in the contract, then you all will accept that.
Yes, and it'll be all,
3 days and I can have 5.
I'm sorry, what now?
He can put in 3 days in his and I can put 5 in mine and I have them available.
so if the wording is 50% of X accrued days, be it sick, whatever the days we've decided, 50% of those days will be sold back. If he's got 10 and she's got 12, then 5 of his go in and 6 of hers go in.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, but see, that's a little bit different than what I was hearing.
Okay. I
I
mean,
was
Yeah,
hearing the chief ask, and I don't know if this is correct, he was saying anywhere between 5 and 10 days, so if you want to sell 6 of his.
And Rick, I think it probably comes down, Joe, to what does get negotiated in the contract between us and the city, correct? So I think we're talking about a moving target. I think your option is probably possible to be negotiated, as is mine, and if we designate the type of days, I would imagine that it could either be a straight percentage of those days, like Joe just gave an example, or maybe it could be a selection of member may contribute up to 10 days.
I don't think that's right.
That's
No.
where my confusion comes.
No.
It's not possible.
It will
no,
be the same, every member will be contributing the same percent, right? Does that
Right.
make sense? So I think in Indianapolis, they actually do all, right?
yes,
So,
But Joe, the thing about that is, and I don't want to confuse percentage of days, but with dollar value, but a day for Rick is different than a day's value for Daniel.
yeah,
right,
So dollar amount, Rick would be contributing more
right,
at 50% of his incentive days than Daniel, and that's all fine.
yeah, that's
The
fine.
dollar amount's not.
I mean, the money's yours, then the money's your spouse's, or whoever dies first. You know, the big hiccup with this, because it's a no-brainer. If you said this was your money forever and ever, well, this is an absolute no-brainer. We've explained why we're all gonna be needing this money. The big hiccup is, wait a second, my wife and I are both dead. Now that money gets redistributed back to the members. But what I want to be very clear is, a department like Indianapolis of over 2,000 people, they're spending it all. Nobody's dying and everybody's getting this money. Like, it's just not happening. There's so much expense in healthcare after you retire. They're using this money up. Yes, sir, Kevin.
Joe, it sounds like, excuse me, that if you went the percentage route where the city gave 1% to fund this, it's only going to benefit police and fire that are going to be here for a while, correct?
That's right.
People, some of us who are getting closer to retirement, it will will not benefit us at all.
That's right.
As opposed to the buyback.
That's exactly right. So if it's something everyone was passionate about, and we worked with the city and we said, man, we need to amend these contracts before contract negotiation. I'm just saying, this could happen. I'm not saying it would, but let's get this. They're going to be paying you those days anyway, right? Your 50 days or whatever it is. They're paying for it. And you're telling them, the city, hey, I want you to put those days in this account for me for my health care. Well, they're going to love it. They don't have to pay taxes on that money.
Is it possible to do both? I might have missed that, but could you not have a contract that says we're going to take 1% of our pay raise in year 1, 2, 3?
You can do both.
Also, a buyback of 50% of your days.
That's right. You can do both, and that's what she was saying. So the one way where the city's putting a percent in that's considered the city's funding.
Right.
If you're selling your days back for it, that's you putting that money in. That's
Right.
two different pots she was talking about.
Right.
So Indianapolis does it both ways, but you're right. So you could also do it on a yearly basis, where at the end of the year, you know, these incentive days or these sick days, I can sell them back. But the big thing that I've heard from like Mike Reeves out of Indianapolis that he loved was he took his $60,000 or whatever this, I don't even know exactly what days they're selling back, but it's comparable to our sell back at the end of our career. Boom, 60 grand lump sum tax free, and he's using it up. I mean, that's his healthcare money, you know, and he doesn't ever have to pay taxes on it, and he can use it on his premiums, and he's got every supplement across the board that you can get for his Medicare and great insurance, and that's what he's using.
Otherwise, you're buying that, you're going to pay taxes on it.
That's right.
So would you get like a card, like you did with our HSA account, and then you just throw it here and pay your bills, or do you have to have a documentation of what you're using it for?
That I'm not for sure of, because none of my plans actually have a PEP yet. I'll ask Kevin and get back to you on that.
You know,
I'm assuming it's a card.
It's probably a card, more like your HSA has a card and that sort of thing.
Yes, Dave.
We keep talking about the days being compensated for. Our contribution doesn't have to come from selling back days, right? I mean, we can contribute a certain percentage of our salary into this account.
No, not unless it's part of the negotiation. But if they negotiate that, let's say you negotiate that you can put in 1% of your salary into this PEP plan, then that means everybody in this room has to put 1% of their salary in here. So that probably wouldn't be something that you all are going to want. So,
Premiums only.
yes, right.
stay in that after you retire.
You cannot contribute, but it's your plan to use after you retire.
I'm just saying, I think that would address Chief Hedder's concern about everybody having different value of days.
And so that's good. But that would be the other pot. That would be the city. That's how you would go about, and what Kevin was saying. That's where we would tell the city, we want you to put 1% of pension base in to everybody's account. It just doesn't really help a guy that's getting ready to head out of here, though. I mean, he's gonna get $600 in his PEP account. I mean, he can use it, but you know.
It'd be used in 1 month's time, so yeah. But it negotiates, so you have two buckets of money. You're going to negotiate what you want the city to give you. And then you're going to negotiate what you all are going to want to put in there yourself, is basically what this is. And you don't have to do both. You can just negotiate, the city puts the money in there, and that's it.
Or
Or the other way.
Yeah. Rick?
Is this a 100% mandatory participation, or can there be an opt-out clause negotiated in the contract?
No, it's all or nobody. It's all or nothing.
You cannot choose to opt out of the
No.
program.
No. Because that's why you vote on it, and whatever the vote is, everybody has to participate.
Brian?
So I heard somebody say, and I'm gonna ask you guys for clarification, I heard somebody say, so this doesn't really benefit the older guys because you don't have time to accrue anything in that account. But that's not necessarily the case, because in our contract, we can say that you can sell back those leftover vacation days, those 48 sick days. No, I'm not, this is to a different point. So that it can benefit a guy who's gonna leave in 2 years, because they can sell back all 48 of those sick days that they banked throughout their career, right?
That's right.
Correct.
If you negotiate
If
100%.
we decided to
Yeah.
negotiate it that way.
Wouldn't you have to negotiate if they buy back the days every year? Right now, you gotta have a full bank before they buy back.
That's right. No, that's right. Yeah,
So,
right now, we can't sell back, we can only sell back one. I know we're different. We're different now.
no, I get that, but once
Yeah.
my bank is full, I get to sell back days. But if I don't have a full bank, I'm not contributing anything. If we're doing it that way, I don't contribute anything until that bank's full. Then I have a year where I'm sick, and I go below, now I'm not gonna contribute that year as well.
Right. No, that's right. I mean, yeah, you might have years that you don't put it.
Technically, you can opt out by burning your sick days.
If it's negotiated in that manner, you're right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, sir.
So, do you have to wait for retirement to use this? In other words,
Yes.
somebody, you have to wait till you can use this in lieu of an HSA.
No. This is strictly a funded plan for your retirement years only. Your HSA
What age
is
is it you're able to start using it?
upon termination of employment by retiring, any age. So if you retire at 50, you can start using it at 50.
But if you have to go out on disability before your retirement age,
If you're not fully retired, the money's still not available to you, so.
you have to draw
You
your
have-
disability from your
Yes.
retirement age, then you can draw it.
Right.
So is this considered an HRA? This is going to a retirement account instead of a savings account?
Yes, it's basically it's an
It's not exactly an HRA.
not exactly, no. It's similar.
Yes,
Is
Kevin?
this something that you foresee only happening at the next negotiations, or is this something you could actually open up to present to the city?
So that's kind of what I was getting at. They don't really like doing that, but I think this product is a easy seller to the city, right? If Chief Hendrick's leaving in January,
I heard that.
and they've got, you know, and we all know, I mean, it's no secret in here, these are big checks that are being written out, right? And he's getting 60 grand, and we tell them, hey, we've got a way that you guys can go around the tax system to provide this to him. I think they're gonna really be interested in that option. So if it's something our membership was passionate about, and then, you know, I know you guys too, I mean, we can all sit down at the same table, and even still yet do it differently, but if we wanted to make a push collectively, I think the city would be very receptive to implementing this plan. I know when we brought Nationwide on board for our 457 plan, that was something we got that put into play in like a week.
And Nationwide would go in with you all to the city to present help you present the
Is
program.
there any type of cost factor in this that comes out of our money that we put in this?
There is an annual fee, and I believe it's $50 a year that would come out.
So Joe, the big selling point of how to contribute to this thing with the buyback and retirement sum of money would be the member saying, I had plans for that money to do other things with it. Even though the member really is probably going to utilize that money in healthcare costs and utilize it at a tax-free.
So that's the point of the first part. The first part of is to tell you that you're going to spend this money. I know you've got plans for that $60,000. I mean, everybody does, but what we're telling you is you need that money for health care. And this is a way you don't ever have to pay taxes on it, and you can spend it on your health care. So that's the selling point. That's the real selling point. And the big kicker, it's the main one. If you and your spouse die, whatever money in there gets redistributed to the members. It's just not happening.
It's not happening.
The costs
It
are
could
there to
happen.
absorb this money.
I mean, it could happen.
It could.
I mean, a couple could go get in a car wreck and both killed. Well, you got 50,000 sitting in there. I'm sorry, that goes to the members, but
And we appreciate that.
yeah.
Yes, so one question would be, and I know it's a really hard question to answer, and there's no definite answer. In Indianapolis, that's doing this program, is the average contributed amount per member 5,000 or 50,000? Or is it all over the place? I mean, I see where, Joe, if you said Hendrick, here's $5,000 to spend on healthcare, there's no doubt I'm going to use all that pretty quickly. But if I put 50,000 in there,
Do you remember what Mike said he had in his, like $70,000?
Yeah, so the way Indianapolis does it, they do 100% of their discretionary days,
Yes.
sick days, vacation days, incentive days, all of that they have left over at the end of their career gets turned into money that is rolled into their pet plan. And I think Mike was saying $60,000 or $70,000, unless you obviously depleted all of your vacation and all your
He said,
sick bank and that kind of thing.
Mike's a straight shooter. He is retired. He said, if your guys have any questions, give him my phone number. He said, I'm telling you, this is the best thing we ever
and
did.
Joe, the big key to it, Brian, is it's all the members. It's not an option, once again, I know we talked about it earlier. It's all member participation at the same rules
Yes,
or none.
right.
Or not.
That's
he
correct.
did say he ran into some opposition. I think Indianapolis was one of the first in the state to do this.
I think they were.
And he said 5 years later, no one was opposed to this plan.
How long have they been doing this?
10 years.
About 10 years.
Yeah, he said, there was big push. Everybody's scared of that one thing, you know?
The one thing.
I'm kids' money if I die, but there's what they found in the last 10 years. Nobody's dying with it.
So you retire and you have that money rolled over. Can you use that for past medical? If you have a balance of a medical account, once you retire, is that money yours to use towards paying that as well?
If that expense happened before your retirement, you can't use, it has to be paid for expenses from your retire date on.
Date on.
Yeah, the only, like the gentleman said, what if I die and I have $2,000 worth of medical bills? Well, those medical bills happened before he passed on, so you could use it for that. But, and keep in mind that the major reason a person files bankruptcy is medical bills. While you're young, old, whatever, if you don't have money to take care of yourself in your retirement years, there is a thing called Medicaid. Medicaid would take over all your medical expenses, but you can't have any assets, you can't have any money, your pension check, your Social Security check, all that would go to the state to take care of you, and then whatever else after that money, that's what the state will pay to take care of you. So let's say you're Medicaid and you need to be in a nursing home. You can't say, oh, I really like that nursing home over there. Each nursing home only has X amount of Medicaid beds in their facility. So if they have 200 beds in their facility, they might have 10 of them as Medicaid beds. Well, they're all full. I know someone lived in Louisville. They needed a Medicaid bed. There wasn't one in Louisville. They shipped them off to Lexington, Kentucky. Their family members had to travel to Lexington to visit them because that was the only Medicaid bed available. And if your spouse is still living, they can live in the home. You can have a funeral plot, and you can have X amount of money to live off of. But everything else belongs to the state. So you don't want that to happen to you. You don't want all your medical bills. One bad condition can give you $200,000 worth of medical bills just like that overnight. So you don't want that to happen to you. And PEP's not going to take care of all of that if something like that happened to you, but it sure can take care of some of it.
Rick?
What are the administrative fees for this fund?
I believe it's $50 a year is an annual administrative fee on it.
$50 a year, that's all it costs for you guys to administer?
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's part of the partnership with the IAFF.
Mm-hmm. The IFF.
Percentage as well, like there is with our 457, is there a 1% fee?
No.
Okay.
No.
So is this an annual thing that's gonna, does this happen annually, they bring out some money out? Are we talking about at the end of our career, or is this not monthly?
You're talking about the money?
The money that's gonna be put into this account?
It's how we, so right now, there's no money going into any account. This is, but it's how we would negotiate it.
So if I have a sick bank that says about to spill a COVID, I'm gonna start losing days real soon.
That's right. And that's similar to what you're talking about.
We could build this in to where at the end of each year, it would take X amount of days out of our bank.
I mean, that would be nice,
So
right?
we wouldn't lose them.
That would be nice. That's going to be part of the stellar negotiating skills that you get. No, but I mean, that's an idea, Eric. You know, so I brought Diana in because I've sat through this once and I thought, man, it's a big deal. People need to know about these expenses because I think a lot of us don't or just don't think about it. So this is just an option they offer.
And I think it's a good option.
Oh,
I do, you know.
And I've heard the living testimony from the guys that do it. It's not like a salesperson came in, told me something, and it's a great deal. I've heard the people that are living this, the 70-year-old retirees that are living this, and they're like, man, that was a lifesaver of a thing we did. And one of the, you know, an actual naysayer, a guy that was like, I was totally against that, but I got outvoted and they got it in there. Thank God they did. So, I mean, it's...
And you're going to have, because it's voted upon, you're probably going to have one or two at the very beginning that are just going to be totally against this.
Well, way more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, until it really gets involved and they see what it's going to produce for them.
Joe,
Yeah.
if we negotiate and put sick bank days in there, it's gonna be hard for Daniel and I to accrue sick days when we really need them beginning our career. So
we might only have 15 sick days. If we negotiate, we'll put half of those in the PEP. That'll take us,
You're not losing, right?
we're not losing them, but if we need those sick days,
Before. Those are all, that's probably.
right, that's just the way we worded.
Max out would take twice as long.
There are a million ways we can
Yeah,
negotiate.
maybe you negotiate, you can sell your sick bank at the end of your career. It's kind of, yeah, that's, you can what if it to death.
Yeah.
The whole time I go sell back to.
Or, yes, that's one way you can do it. Or you can do it yearly, yeah.
You could negotiate at the end of the year, if you have X amount of comp days, sell the comp days back.
Right, that's right.
You know, sell the comp days or that sort of thing.
Any other questions on this for Diana?
You know, we all have to be on.
Okay.
So one last question.
Yeah, Dave.
Sorry. After retirement, is there any way to put more money in there?
No. Once you've retired, then you're done. Unless you negotiate that the city puts in X amount for retirees. I'll check on that. I'll check on that. And when you come up with some ideas, you can run them past us and we can say, yeah, you can do that or you can't do that. Because you might come up with some ideas that cannot happen.
Okay.
So, you know, when we get down to the fact that you really want to start
Well,
tuning
for
this.
some of these guys, I mean, you know, we don't actually negotiate again until, we're in contract until the end of next year.
Okay,
But
so
if it's something that people were passionate about and they wanted to come to the leadership, I will work for this if everybody wants to. I mean, if not, then we won't, but I just want everybody to be informed.
And what you could do is negotiate the employee section, like what you all are going to do now, and then when the contract comes in, then negotiate what the city's going to do for you.
Right.
That's another option.
But, you know, that's gonna be something, you know, you guys wanna talk to the new FOP leadership and the chief and the administration, and, you know, you've got a lot of our executive board here now, a lot of our members. Like I said, I'll work for this as hard as everybody wants to work for it. I think it's a good thing. I've heard our brothers and sisters out of Indianapolis tell me it's a great thing. So I just want everybody to be informed. Anybody have anything else?
Okay.
All right, thank you, Diana.
Do you think we did a good job today? Okay. Let me find.